Let's see what we got. More books. So, when will I use this? It's a pretty common question. It's a very fair question. I was a high school teacher for 5 years and I heard it a lot. And usually when you hear that question or when you ask that question, it's because you're in a situation where you're being presented with some information that seems redundant or useless. And when am I going to use this sounds kind of like a slam dunk argument. I know it sounded like that to me as a kid, because what's the point of you teaching me something if I'm not going to go and use this? If I'm not going to need to use this, what's the point? But I've been hearing this question so much and I've been asking it myself so much that I thought it was worth trying to answer. So I wrote down some thoughts and here we go. Let me begin by saying something positive about the question, because I don't want it to sound like I'm dunking on it. It's good if you have a very specific need or specific goal and you have only a limited amount of time. So if you are, if you're in a spy movie, right? Or if you're an actual spy and you had a task to accomplish by midnight and you can pretty much tell what's going to contribute toward that goal or not. Same thing if you have a test tomorrow and the teacher starts talking about something else that they enjoy, but it's not the information that's going to be on the test. You might be very rightly a little impatient with that information. So in that case, yeah, great. Ask, hey, is this something we're going to need to use or not? Very fair. That said, I'm going to spend the rest of the video talking about why I think when am I ever going to use this is not a great question, because I think 9 times out of 10 when I hear this question, it's not being asked in that sense. It's being asked in a different sense, a worse sense. So I'm going to give you an exercise right now. You don't have to really do it, but if you want, you can pause the video and take a pen and write down a list of the things you think you're going to need to know for the rest of your life and see how far you get. Depending on how old you are, that list might be different. But you could probably think of some things that you would like to know. Maybe job training, some money skills would be great, maybe how to eat healthy. So hopefully you're seeing the issue here. How can you make a list of the things you need to know? You don't know what you're going to need to know later. Now you could for sure be thinking right now, well, I don't know what I will need to know, but I could tell you for sure something I won't need to know. So that's what makes it okay for me to decide, I don't really want to pay attention in this class or that class because I know for sure I won't use that. I'm not even going to say you're wrong in that. I took a single math class in college. I took it for one day and we went over PEMDAS and I realized I don't like this stuff. And so I dropped out of the class and then I took a credit by examination course instead. And I just took one exam. So I, at that time, was studying film production and decided, I don't really care to know this right now. And I was mostly right. I don't have daily occurrences where I really wish I knew much more math than I did. I'm grateful for the critical skills I have that math taught me earlier, but besides the point. So that's fine. If you truly walk into something and you think, this isn't worth my time to learn, that's great. You actually do only have limited time in life. So I'll give you that. Let's say you can for sure tell when something is not going to be useful to you. Okay, sure. I don't think that we really can predict that with 100% accuracy, what we will or won't need, but let's say you can. Now, the real problem is, are you walking away from that because you have something else you'd rather be spending your time on that's really important? Or are you asking that because you want to be able to tune out and zone out without feeling bad? Like that math class I dropped in college, I dropped it and I poured all of my spare hours that I had into, I was a film major, so I was learning film production stuff. So you could catch me paying less attention in my math and science classes and more attention to my film projects. So I'm not saying it's bad to make a value judgment on whether information is worth your time in the moment. I'm saying, are you replacing that attention that you're taking from that other thing and giving it to something else that will help you learn and make your way in the world? Or are you taking your attention away from it and saying, I'm never going to use this, so I'm going to spend my 5th period geometry class every day tuned out entirely while I'm physically here? Because that to me just seems like kind of a colossal waste of, just of your time. And I understand, especially if you're like a high school student, you might not have a choice. And believe me, I have been in bad classes. I'm not trying to make you feel bad and make you give the teacher the benefit of the doubt. I've been a teacher. I've been a prepared teacher. I've been an underprepared teacher. I totally get it. But hopefully you can hear what I'm saying here in general. Oh, okay, wait, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I did find it in my box. This is what I call an analog time capsule. It's something I made for myself. This is just basically a dump of all of my app notes for like 2 years. And I realized if I lost my phone or I lost my iCloud account or whatever, I wouldn't have those thoughts. And they're just a bunch of random thoughts. So I dumped them all into this book. and I got it printed. So now I have it, and I flip through it when I need ideas. And so I'm just reading off the contents here. It's got a section for poetry snippets, video ideas, dreams I had, movie thoughts. It's got about 40 pages worth of notes on board game design, which I was very into for a time and I probably will get back into. I think one of these boxes is actually just a bunch of board game textbooks, story ideas, and just pages and pages of stuff. And, when am I going to ever use this? Like, in my current work, my current life, like, do I have to use any of this stuff? Not really. As I was opening these boxes, I saw books I hadn't seen for like 4 or 5 months, as long as these boxes have been closed. And I got really excited, and my mind is really just flush right now with concepts and things I want to talk about in this video. But the purpose of this video is not to talk about all the individual wonderful things I've had the chance to learn. It's to hopefully encourage you to have the mindset that learning in general, whether or not you can see a direct application immediately, is both enjoyable and useful. I could give you direct examples of how things I didn't think would be useful ended up being useful, but I feel like that would undermine the point and might make it seem like reading or paying attention in class or experimenting in your life was only worth it if you found a direct correlation for application later. And I just think that's not the case. And so it's really a mindset shift. Learning is valuable. Hot take. This doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be a big project where you go on a spree of learning. You can just try and incorporate this into your life. Try the next time you're at a bookstore and you see a used book that looks interesting. Even if you can't find a way to tie it into your work or your current interests, just get it and read it. Or next time you see an interesting YouTube video on a topic you might not know much about, just click on it and pay attention. And who knows if you'll use it? And also, who cares if you'll use it? I can tell you right now, all of these books, I've never had a time that I've been sorry for exploring. But if you are the kind of person who always asks, when will I use this? The answer to that question is, with attitude, with that attitude, you won't. All right, I'll see you next time.